Criminal defense attorney Bob Bianchi joins me now with more on this. Bob, thanks so much for being with us. It's great to see you back.
Okay, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So what are your thoughts on the SEC coming after these crypto platforms?
It's hard to say because we really don't know the facts, and you hear two sides, to this, and of course we always have to wait till the truth comes out, which is usually never in the court of public opinion, but actually in the actual court filings. But based on what I'm reviewing as far as the SEC complaint as is being alleged here, is that they're not properly being monitored. They're not subjecting themselves to SEC regulations. They're acting as an exchange, a broker, a dealer, and a clearinghouse, commingling of funds in a way that is inappropriate according to what the SEC is saying, and that it's denying consumers, I'm kind of reading from part of the complaint, critical protections to prevent fraud, manipulation, proper disclosures, safeguards, and there's conflicts of interest, and they are not allowing for routine SEC inspections. So again, we don't know what the facts are, but if what's alleged in the SEC complaint is correct, and if it's true, we have to be mindful that we want a free exchange, but we also have to be mindful that history has shown us that these companies, think of Sam Bankman-Fried, have done some things sometimes. I'm not saying these companies in particular, because we don't know right now, that have really damaged and ruined people's lives. And usually it goes all the way down to the lowest level person to the highest level person. So these rules are there for a reason, and we'll have to wait to see what the accurate facts are.
Okay. And what do you think some of the potential consequences are for the customers on these platforms?
Well, that's the issue, and that's why the SEC is jumping in. And they're essentially saying is that by failure to do these things, it could lead to fraud, manipulation, and that the customers can be significantly impacted. And again, you don't want another, Bankman-Fried situation. So, this is what their job is to go out there and to stop those things happening so the customers and consumers are not left with nothing, holding an empty bag at the end of the day. Now, that doesn't mean that every SEC complaint that's ever been filed on the face of the earth is ultimately successful, because that would be inaccurate. So again, the devil's in the details here, but what it means to the consumer is that look, any rule or regulation, if it's overbearing, if it prevents people from doing lawful and legitimate business that does not have the potential to manipulate and defraud people, should be allowed to occur unfettered by government intrusion. However, when you have situations in which these companies, and let's face it, if you allow them with no rules and no regulations, or they're not following the rules or the regulations that are there to protect people, people get hurt. And that hopefully is what the SEC is doing. When I say hopefully, they're not overreaching, but they're seeing a problem and they're trying to protect consumers before they lose their money.
Makes sense. Alrighty, Bob, switching gears now to the world of golf. The PGA Tour has agreed to a merger with Saudi-backed LIVGOLF. There's a lot here. Does this merger raise antitrust concerns regarding a monopoly or anti-competitiveness?
Well, that's what's going to be alleged here, and it's kind of ironic because when this whole thing started, what the PGA did was they essentially said anyone who participates in the LIV, which is backed by the Saudis, and I don't think the PGA really cared about that. It was just a competitor there, would not be allowed to tour on the PGA. And so I think it was 11 or so of the golfers that went over to LIV said, wait a minute, this is stopping us from being able to participate in other entities with regard to our golfing talents, and they filed a lawsuit. The irony here is that I think it was like in the fall when LIV interfered or got involved with that lawsuit that was filed by the golfers all withdrew those lawsuits, to my understanding. And so there was no real pending litigation with regard to the golfers having sued the PGA. Then what happens? The PGA gets involved in a deal with LIV, and they've created now this super entity. And to your point, there is definitely going to be an argument if somebody comes along that they have now monopolized, if you will. But it's kind of weird because it's kind of what they're doing is what they didn't want to do, and now they're doing it. So, I guess it's two sides of a coin. We'll have to wait to see what happens with that. I think that the biggest issue here from a legal point of view is that a lot of people seem to be upset by the idea that the PGA was saying LIV was interfering with advantageous contractual relations when they took the PGA golfers and put them into the LIV category, if you will, and then all those lawsuits started, and now it all just went away. It's interesting once they decided that they're going to join forces and make a ton of cash.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.